So this is my series called Recognizing Female Narcissists because one, if you put it on the internet, people are free to criticize you, and two, a lot of narcissists don't know they're narcissists and they may never know that they're narcissists, and three, to teach people about recognizing signs of narcissistic behaviors in others and themselves. Why am I putting these randoms on Reddit who did nothing to me through the ringer? Well, I have a personal vendetta against narcissists. Narcissists spew out their nasty, hateful stress onto soft doormat people who then develop chronic illness as a result. Consider this an expression of my anger and vengeance against my chronic illness. And yes, I know if you spew hate, prepare to be hated. I don't know if I'll be able to handle hate, but I don't care. I'm angry and I'm tired of holding it all in. So, to start off, here's the first one I wanted to point out because sometimes they're so slimy and manipulative, it drives me crazy that people believe them at face value. The easiest subs to find them in is Just Know So, and Dead Bedrooms, BPD Loved Ones, and ADHD Partners. I'm sure there's plenty more. I recognize many narcs are just victims themselves who need validation and support. They became narcissistic after their partners abused them. Anyway, Just Know So is hilarious because they choose to stay with them. So this post interested me enough to make a video. I'm going to read it out in full and then comment on it. The title is, I'm Speechless. So my 34 female spouse, 35 male, 5 years together and 2 toddlers, dropped a bomb on me during an argument last night and I'm just baffled. He said that his parents had to go to 6 months of weekly therapy to understand how to deal with a narcissist person like me, and I ruined everyone's lives. He was screaming at me by this point of the argument and wouldn't elaborate further when I asked what the hell he was talking about. We have a couples therapy appointment tomorrow, so I just dropped it for the night, but I'm so angry, hurt, and confused at all of them. I know I'm not a narcissist, believe me. I've asked my own therapist if I'm the problem with these people. I've never been diagnosed with anything my fiancé has accused me of, like narcissism or bipolar, but I do think him saying these things is projection based on his behavior. And I know my in-laws are likely narcissists, and he was raised by them, so naturally he's messed up. It's difficult to be called these things and blamed for all the BS over the years. I've certainly had to stand up to them, and yes, I've yelled and been angry when pushed past my limit of them not listening. For example, when they were whining about Christmas plans and what gifts they wanted, and my father was sick with cancer, and I told them I was going there for Christmas because it would likely be the last one I had with him. I lost it and told them off because how could they not understand the situation and be so selfish and callous? But apparently I'm the horrible one. It just makes me sick, and I've lost respect for them beyond being cordial. This whole thing just feels hopeless, like I'll always be the outsider and I can never win because I'll always be labeled as the problem since I won't cow down to them like their son does. So the first thing I'm going to highlight is that he said that his parents had to go to 6 months of weekly therapy. At first I thought she meant their son, and I thought, wow, their son is that abusive and bad, huh? Maybe they are the terrible in-laws for blaming the child they raised. But no, they mean the author, the daughter-in-law. So that intrigued me because how can elderly adults dealing with adding another adult in their family be so awful that they have to go to therapy? We're all adults here. She shouldn't have to be that much of a problem to integrate, and they should have the wisdom of years to be able to deal with anybody. The fact that they had to go through 6 months of therapy is really serious. I believe them right away. I know I'm skeptical of the author, yet I completely believe the elderly had to go to therapy. Boomers generally don't believe in therapy, and 6 months is a serious commitment. So with that in mind, the next phrase that interested me is this. He was screaming at me at this point. While it's never okay to be screaming at your partner, I find it highly manipulative and interesting that she hides what she was doing to escalate things to that point. Is that victim blaming? Well, if she were a true and honest victim, she would tell the full story. What did she say to her husband in response to him saying his parents had to go to therapy because of her? My guess is she invalidated them and dismissed it. Doesn't think whatever she's doing is that serious, as evidenced later on. This is why you're seen as a narcissist, you big dummy. If you go around invalidating and dismissing people, of course you are seen as a narcissist. Like, these elderly people had to go to therapy because of me. What victim losers. Dude, you are being just as callous and cruel and dismissive of their pain. Now your husband is screaming at you without you even saying why he's screaming at you, though I can infer why. The fact that you left out what led to him screaming and only highlighted the screaming part is very manipulative behavior. So the next part is, she asked, what the hell he is talking about. This phrase triggered and angered me. So unless he delivers his message in a nice way, in a way that perfectly fits her worldview, she will absolutely refuse to believe it or even budge or be even a little open-minded to his family's perspective. Imagine your parents, which I'm not even close to my own parents, but he seems to be close to them. Imagine his parents going to therapy and your wife says, "What the hell are you talking about?" Basically, she's saying, "I've done nothing wrong." Again, classic narcissist. So I just dropped it for the night, but I'm so angry, hurt, and confused at all of them. Are you dense? Your husband's just dropped something vulnerable on you, that his family has been hurt by you. Oh, but good for you. You graciously dropped it for the night. Don't you think your husband feels alienated, alone, dismissed? Stonewalled even? Like his concerns don't matter? No, of course not. You're so gracious for dropping it. And while your husband just confided in you that his parents have been hurt, it's your feelings that matter. His parents have gone to therapy for 6 months, but instead of caring about that, you care about your feelings on this particular evening. You are a narcissist when the people around you have to tiptoe around your feelings. Your husband can't even tell you a fact, like his parents are going to therapy, without you dismissing it and making it all about your own feelings. Now, the next phrase, hilarious. I know I'm not a narcissist, believe me. I've asked my own therapist if I'm the problem with these people. The term "these people" is already dehumanizing enough for people who are going through suffering. It's callous, it's dismissive, even if you want love and validation from the very same "these people." I will say some huge points here. 1. You can't believe what your therapist says. Therapists are always on your side and always validate you. They're paid to, and they're paid if you keep having problems. Some of them literally just love the drama. If they call you out, they lose your money. And 2, you can't determine if you're a narcissist based on what your friends say. You determine narcissism based on a series of rules and logics, like, do you dismiss people? Do you dehumanize them? Do you manipulate the narrative so that you're always the victim? Your friends are also incentivized to tell you you're not a narcissist, so they benefit from your relationship. And 3, a lot of narcissism comes from needing validation instead of an internal moral compass. Those celebrities and scumbags who do the wrong thing and get away with it is because they care more about money and people's approval than doing the right thing. If you're looking outside of yourself to determine if you're a good or bad person, and celebrities with millions of fans decide messaging minors is okay because everybody loves them, well, you see how that can go very wrong relying on external validation to know if you're a narcissist. That's why I'm doing this video with all the evidence. What if you're a murderer and you're amongst other murderers? Then everyone will clap and cheer for you while you're kidnapping and killing. So the next line is, I know my in-laws are likely narcissists and he was raised by them, so naturally he's messed up. Okay, this cavalier, holier-than-thou, dismissive attitude. I hate this slimy attitude. I've seen it in some women, and it's always women who seem to be in awful relationships for some strange reason, well-deserved, may I say. I'm speaking from a place where I used to be in toxic relationships and friendships, so now I recognize it. My discernment eye is opened. But yes, if your spouse has been raised by a narcissist, that's what she believes, your attitude should be to protect him and listen to him, not dismiss his feelings and end the conversation, or get him worked up into a rage where he's screaming at you. Clearly, you are not in danger of abuse, because women who are genuinely afraid of abuse will be doing everything they can to make sure their partner doesn't scream at them. You feel haughty enough to just end the conversation and then whine on the internet. Second, if he's been through trauma and he picks you, don't you think that's a red flag that you might be just as narcissistic as his mother? Or if he's been with self-serving people all his life and he's always catered to their demands, don't you think you're benefiting or taking advantage of him? Third, naturally he's messed up. Sounds like such a callous way to treat someone who likely has childhood trauma if his parents were narcissists. Is this how neurotypical people treat people with complex PTSD? They see someone as, naturally he's messed up. Bro, you are so dismissive and holier than thou, you freaking martyr. And it's the fact that you say, I know I'm not a narcissist, believe me. It is the most evil people who are the most sure they aren't doing the wrong thing. Someone who isn't a narcissist will at least leave room for interpretation and try to understand why their spouse thinks this way, if there's anything you two can do to bridge the gap. But you're so dismissive and self-righteous. That is, by definition, why everyone thinks you're a narcissist. I do think him saying these things is projection. This one I don't have much of a problem with, because you are a narcissist, but he could also be a narcissist. I know anyone living with a narcissist over time can become one. And hey, it could be a chicken and the egg situation. Maybe he was the narcissist all along and made you turn into one. But I don't see you saying that here. Yes, I've yelled and been angry when pushed past my limit of them not listening. This is creating some kind of straw man. You are preemptively assuming the audience thinks you're narcissistic because you yell. There are plenty of kind and honest people who yell too when they are actually standing up for what's right in the face of a narcissist. Raising your voice is not the problem. The problem is how you dismiss people's trauma and never take in anyone else's perspective. I'm sure if you saw a video like mine, you wouldn't take in its perspective either, because I've done nothing but criticize you and point out how you're a narcissist. If this video was meant to help you, I'd sure as heck phrase things in a different way so that it'd be more palatable to you and you'll get the validation and support you want from your in-laws. But this video is meant for me and to educate others about spotting narcissistic, dismissive people. The fact that you assume people are calling you a narcissist, based on that silly definition, shows you either think other people have a stupid definition of narcissism. Narcissism is when people raise their voice, or you actually believe you can only be a narcissist because you raise your voice, which if you did, you wouldn't be saying, I know I'm not a narcissist. So clearly you think other people are stupid and believe you're a narcissist only because you're raising your voice, not the fact that you're callous and dismissive. And you even think people reading it are stupid. Another grandiose narcissist trait is to think everyone is dumber than you, as to think they're only calling you narcissist because of raising your voice or yelling. You might be just dumb, and a lot of narcissists are too dumb to realize they're the narcissist. And if that's the case, don't take my call out seriously because it's not your fault you're dumb. Because it's just insane to me why you think that's why other people are calling you a narcissist. Because yes, a more intelligent person can communicate without raising their voice. I don't fault you for needing to raise your voice, but I bet you need to raise your voice because you're dismissing people, so they talk louder, and you dismiss them even louder. La la la, I can't hear you, I'm right and you're wrong. Maybe it's both. You're being loud and you're dismissing them. Just from the first example, it sounds like your husband came to you with a sincere concern, letting you know you've hurt his parents so much, with evidence of how much, by the fact of them needing to go to therapy. And in return, it seems like you've made it all about yourself, your feelings, how hurt and angry you are, instead of addressing his concerns. Well, you pretty much just proved that you're a narcissist in the way you reacted instead of responded. You took it so personally. Now, the next phrase is whining about what Christmas presents and what gifts they wanted. Whining. Wow. What a way to talk about what others want for Christmas. You sound really antisocial and arrogant. Sure, they want to spend Christmas with them, but any understanding person will know they can let their daughter-in-law go spend Christmas with their dad. It seems to me like something else went down, actually. My father was sick with cancer, and I told them I was going there for Christmas because it would likely be the last one I had with them. I lost it and told them off because how could they not understand the situation and be so selfish and callous? To me, reading between the lines, it sounds like you were really pissed off and stressed because your dad has cancer, very understandable. So while they were just expressing a request, you took it as an attack, that they didn't understand your father was going through cancer, so you escalated things. It sounds like you're an emotional and explosive person. You could have peacefully stood your ground that you won't be joining them for Christmas, instead of exploding at them. The next phrase I want to point out is, I'll always be the outsider. Yeah, you always put them down and dismiss them. And at the same time, you want their approval, love, and acceptance. But you also dismiss their feelings. Who wants to bring a person into the fold that's always lashing out at them? Why are you expecting them to understand you when you won't even budge an inch for them? I can never win? This is the money phrase. With narcissists, arguments are always about winning. Someone's ego gets battered while the other's gets inflated. Well, what's the alternative? Understanding. Arguments or disagreements should be about learning and understanding another person's perspective, stepping in their shoes, easing their burdens, alleviating anxiety, and in general, just trying to make each other feel seen, heard, and understood. When someone tries to win an argument, everybody loses. Life has all kinds of experiences and perspective. Nobody is right all the time. This is how you know she's the problem. I won't cow down to them like their son does. Wow, just the cherry on top. You think getting along with people, being empathetic, is about cowing down? Look, I'll have some compassion for you if that's how your family treated and raised you, that giving in means losing and getting hurt. If there are all these signs of narcissism in you from this post alone, I really stand to believe that you are the asshole here. I think a less narcissistic person, someone more self-aware, will look at the son and think, wow, if he usually pleases people and lets them have their way, does that mean he's doing that for me too? Am I taking advantage of him? But no, you are short-sighted and you only think about how he's cowing to his parents. It sounds to me he already spends a lot of holidays with you based on your Mother's Day post and the Christmas thing. So that might have been something you maliciously left out for why his parents might be whining that they missed their son. So this is the Mother's Day post. Mother's Day in r/just no mother-in-law. I realized Mother's Day is getting really close and suddenly had immense anxiety about how mother-in-law is going to annoy us this year. Last year, my fiance was actually supportive, and when he got the expected phone call from his dad asking what he was doing for his mom, as if his dad has to call and remind/pressure a 35-year-old, and not what are you preparing for my name for Mother's Day, as if I don't exist, he told his dad he was celebrating with me and our kids. I'm grateful he stepped up as my partner finally, but I can't help but be worried about how this year will go down. The in-laws are always annoyed when we don't agree with whatever plans they expect us to attend, holidays, birthdays, etc., and I'm just done with it. I have a feeling they'll try to guilt my fiance by saying last year we didn't attend. They do this with other holidays if I end up going to see my family and trying to do the switching off one year at their house, the next at my family's house, which I hate since I grew up with divorced parents. They have 2 other children that don't have kids or partners of their own to celebrate with, but they seem to latch on to me and my partner. It's just frustrating that every special day has to be surrounded by anxiety instead of being fun and relaxing. Reading from the Mother's Day post, what stands out to me is that they celebrated Christmas at her place, and his mother wants to see them for Mother's Day. It makes me think that they didn't get to see his family for Christmas, nor Mother's Day, so that's almost 5 months without seeing his in-laws. Well, I see in this post that she had divorced parents, which is why it might be hard for her to understand another person's perspective. She probably grew up with a mom that would rather split up than try to compromise, and a mom who felt like the victim and was angry throughout that the marriage didn't work out. Things not working out when you expect them to and holding a grudge for that is another trait of narcissism. It's also just a natural human response though, but imagine living 18 or 20 years with a mom who is angry and bitter. Kids need both parents so that they can have a balanced view, not just one parent who's always right. So in this post that you can read on screen, it's about how her husband doesn't seem interested in sex. Based on how I've pointed out how she dismisses his feelings and concerns and only cares about herself, and also how she sees sex as something to take from him, as in he needs to make her feel validated, wanted, and cherished, instead of something that they share, I just want to say no wonder their sex life suffers. Dude, you are an awful person. No one wants to have sex with their bully. No one wants to cuddle with a porcupine that's lashing out at him and emasculating him, dismissing him, and calling him a cow for caring about his parents. Don't assume I have a great relationship with my parents either. I have a passable one, nowhere near as close as my friends do, but even I know it's insane to be that dismissive. And a part of me is calling you out because I know that if you opened up and changed the way you see things, you would get everything that you want. Your parent-in-laws would love and accept you, and you would get passionate, crazy sex from your husband. There's plenty of podcasts and books out there that will teach you how to do that. This video is just for me pointing out female narcissists. So this post is called Mother-in-Law Inserted Herself into My Easter Plans. In this post, she talks about wanting to go to her mom's for Easter because there are family friends from Europe coming to visit. What I can tell you is this woman is rich and healthy. As someone commenting who is chronically sick, stuck in their room, lashing out into the void, this is my retaliation on healthy but narcissistic people. Let me lash out at you. What she has shared about being a child of divorce and now seeing no mention of any financial struggles, having the health and finances to celebrate every holiday, I assume she was raised wealthy but divorced. So I conclude that's the source of her narcissism. She never had to depend on other people for survival. She never had to change her perspective to please anyone. She's always had money. You see, children of wealthy people are never going to change. They don't have to. Their survival doesn't depend on understanding other people. If the worst thing that has ever happened to you was having 2 parties to choose from to attend on Easter, I think you have a pretty good life. I seriously think she just bullies, controls, and manipulates her husband and the in-laws because she's bored. A lot of these wealthy stay-at-home moms have nothing better to do. As someone who is so ill and still needs to make a living, I have a right to curse you. Am I jealous? Maybe. Does that mean I laugh at the karma you suffer? Yes, a little. If I ever delete this video, you'll know I've become well off and no longer hate people who do fuck all with their lives. There's a lot of other posts on her Reddit about her writing stuff, so She's a stay-at-home mom, and she writes. But basically, it's a little humorous in the way that she's been blessed with enough financial stability and good health so that she never needs to rely on anyone. So she never developed empathy. Her narcissism seems to come from suffering little in life. So without having the need to develop compassion or empathy, she struggles getting people to like her. She copes by controlling and manipulating people. And there's other posts that document how she controls her husband, like this one. In this post, her husband got invited to a wedding, and they said they don't have capacity for him to bring a +1. And the capacity for the room is 120, but only 90 people are going. So she's suspicious that they didn't invite her on purpose, and because she can't go, she wants him to not go. And Errol, look at this, it has 0 votes. I didn't even write a script for this part, but I feel like people are pointing out that, she's just an awful person to be around, and I just find it insane that her first thought is that, like, this is why I need to make a script, because I need to get my thought. Her first thought is, if I can't go, you can't go either. And then she tells him, and then after everyone called her out, which I'm surprised no one else is calling her out. I guess that's why I have to make this video and why people have to call her out. But after they called her out and she realizes, oh, it's insane to, like, not let him go, she tells him that, and then he doesn't go anyway because he wants to put her first. Again, no script for this part, but this is another post on her complaining about their sex life. And I wanted to highlight that he would rather look at porn, other women, and masturbate alone than have sex with me. And she sees this as a problem with him, like something's wrong with him for not wanting to have sex with me. But it's like the lack of self-awareness for me. Like, you're not even thinking like, why doesn't he want to have sex with me? It's the fact that she never considers like something could be wrong with her, and it's like, nope, it's always other people. Something's wrong with them. Something's wrong with them. She's always dismissing other people. And like, I would imagine any man that would pick porn over his partner, I know this is crazy to say, like, something's wrong with his partner, but like, something has to be terribly wrong for him to want to choose like 2D graphics rather than like his 3D living, breathing wife. Because, like, obviously porn's not going to criticize you, porn's not going to emasculate you, all of that. Like, you have to be seriously messed up for him to give up, like, a warm, live, living, breathing. And like I said in the other one, she sees him as, like, a machine for validation tokens. Like, sex is all about making her feel wanted and validated. Sex isn't about him feeling good, it's about her and what she wants. So, like, why would anyone want to perform sex for that reason? This is, like, a role reversal. And, instead of wondering, like, why is he choosing porn over me, she immediately goes, I know other men would love to have sex with me. Like, this is crazy. Instead of working on your marriage and being like, what can I do to make this better? What can I do to make him feel safe to have sex with me? She's just immediately thinking of like, oh, I'm going to discard this man and look for other men. Like, this is why a lot of men say they feel replaceable, they feel expendable. And there are women that think like this, and that's why I want to call them out. Like, no wonder you're having problems when, like, instead of facing the problems and fixing the issues in your marriage, you're like, oh, I'll just think about other men. And that if he doesn't find desire for me again, I'm going to be fine finding other men to sleep with. This is so, like, despicable and nasty to me. Like, instead of caring about your partner who probably feels alone and alienated and, like, he has to resort to porn in his marriage, you're just thinking about sleeping with other men. Like, you're so haughty and, like, arrogant. This is another post called, Why Does He Want to Initiate If He Says No 99% of the Time? And again, no script for this. This is another screenshot of her post complaining about their sex life. And when she initiates and he's turned me down, now I'm struggling with feelings of embarrassment and being unwanted again. So I wanted to point this out because, like, women make fun of men for being afraid of being rejection, but here he is turning her down for sex, and now she feels embarrassed and unwanted. Like, it's coercive in the fact that he can't turn her down because, well, he does, which is great, because he turns down coercive sex because he has to worry about your feelings. He can't say no, because if he says no, you'll feel sad, and now he has to worry about you feeling sad and grumpy. And this was another one I highlighted. He felt too tired and sore from work. And, like, dude, if you look at the entire situation, she's a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't have to work. She works on her novels all day. And of course, looks after the kids, which I'm sure she wanted or she wouldn't have had them. But she basically has, like, the perfect life that she wants, and he pays for all of it. And instead of being grateful, she's like, how dare he get tired from work and not immediately have sex with me? It's crazy. And she complains that I have to take it when I can get it mindset, meaning when he initiates, I have to accept, or else we just won't have sex. And I don't have any sympathy for that because people are allowed to say no to sex that they don't want. Like, is he supposed to just give you sex on demand? This is crazy. This is just evil, honestly. This was the first post about their sex lives that made me curious to look into it. It's titled Fixing Intimacy While Partner is Still Consuming Porn. 34 female, 35 male. So the phrase that really stood out to me was when she said, "We have had a lot of issues concerning sex and pornography." Dude, the we part of it, I'm pretty sure he doesn't feel like he has a problem, only she has a problem with it. And the whole problem is that, like, she doesn't realize she's making him turn to porn. I know, like, there's gonna be people saying, like, oh, you're victim blaming. But, like, based on the context of everything else, how she's so dismissive, how she always puts her own needs first, how she uses him as, like, an ATM and a validation token machine. Like, no wonder he would rather turn to porn to get his needs met than, like, turn to someone who's being just so awful to him and his family. And, like, she doesn't even care about his parents either. Like, who would want to have sex with someone that doesn't get... And, like, obviously he is a very kind, good, and empathetic person because I haven't seen her talk about him being abusive other than him raising his voice. But if he was abusive, she wouldn't be constantly wanting to have sex with him. Like in the wedding example, he gave up going to the wedding because it would make her feel uncomfortable. So, like, obviously he, like, bends over backwards for her, so that's why she wants to have sex with him. He doesn't want to have sex with you because you're very, selfish. And, I underlined this part. I've gotten my physical and mental health back to normal because this is my own thing. Like, I have a bone to pick with healthy people because I'm not healthy. So that's why I'm just lashing out at people. Like, you get to be an awful person and walk around having perfect health and complain on the internet about not having sex. That's crazy. Anyway, I want to end the video by saying I don't wish any harm or ill will to the original poster. I know there are cases where people who get called out get extremely hurt and do something really drastic. So even though I've just pointed out why she is a narcissist in so many ways and why it's making people not like her, I think it's because she's not aware that these are the behaviors that make her come off badly to people. Her behaviors and beliefs. Like, beliefs like, she's always right, stuff like that. But anyway, it's not her fault for not knowing better. And if you change that, and if you change the way you think about social interactions, you will easily get along with people. I don't see much mentioning of friends in her posts, and growing up as a child of divorce must be really difficult, alienating, and lonely. If she doesn't have friends to point out why she's being self-centered and narcissistic in her interactions, no wonder she's turning to Reddit to help. And Redditors aren't going to call her out either because they just offer validation and sympathy. My message here is that I do think lots of people are narcissists, but often it's due to circumstances like being lonely, a child of divorce, not knowing better about how to treat people because your own mom was like that, or being too rich to care what other people think of you.